Good morning, all of you.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning. Hope your class got over. Okay. Okay. So we'll just wait for means 1 minute. We'll just start. Do you have your breakfast?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
No,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you should have on time at least. I think means 8 a.m. Your classes have been just started. Before that, you should complete. Okay. Okay then. So we'll start the first concept in economics. Just a second. Whether the PPT is visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. So today we'll discuss the concept of utility. So in this, we'll discuss about the meaning and definition of utility, cardinal utility, ordinal utility. So these two are the different types of the measurement of utility. Okay, the cardinal measurement, ordinal measurement. Then there are two famous laws under the cardinal utility, that is law of diminishing marginal utility and law of equimarginal utility. So before we'll go into this, anybody is having any idea on utility? What do you mean by utility? Any idea?
No, sir.
Okay, no problem. So utility means the power of a commodity or service to satisfy human wants. Okay. So any commodity you purchase, so it has some huge value. It has some power to satisfy human wants. So whether it is a commodity or it is a service, as a commodity, suppose you are having a very nice food, so it has the power to satisfy your human wants. Service, suppose you are going to the parlor, whatever service you are getting, suppose you are satisfied with that service, it is also called utility. So utility is thus the satisfaction which is derived by the consumer by consuming the goods. Example, if you are buying the cloth from the shopping mall, when you are wearing that, you are becoming happy. So the cloth has the utility to make you happy or to satisfy your wants. So every commodity is having utility or the power to satisfy human wants. Okay. Then according to Marshall, so the additional benefit or additional satisfaction or additional utility, it is also called as the marginal utility. Additional means addition to the total utility or total benefit. So additional benefit which a person derives from a given increase of his stock of anything diminishes with the growth of the stock of that he has. Suppose you have one mobile phone, iPhone, suppose you have one iPhone, your father just gifted you. So you are becoming so happy. So because you are not using iPhone, earlier you are having some other mobile phone like Samsung or MI. Suppose your father gifted you one iPhone, so you become very happy. So unknowingly, your uncle, he was not knowing that your father already gifted you the same iPhone. Suppose in the next day, he also gifted you the same iPhone, same identical, same model, same price, same iPhone. So by getting one more iPhone, you means no doubt you will be happy, but your happiness will not that much how much you became when your father has given you for the first time. So the additional happiness due to additional unit of the commodity you receive, so it will be diminishing. Similarly, in the case of the food, suppose you like rasgulla, if you are eating first rasgulla, how much happy you will be from the second rasgulla, third rasgulla, fourth, fifth, sixth. So your addition of the happiness, it will be going on declining. Less and less utility will be added to the total utility when the consumer consumes more and more units of the commodity. So according to Marshall. Okay, in his statement, he said additional is very important. Additional means the marginal utility, okay, which decrease and means not the total utility. Up to here understood utility and means marginal utility or additional utility or additional happiness.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Then the measurement of utility. Suppose I said that by eating rasgulla you are becoming happy, and from the initial units you are becoming more happy, and in the latter unit your additional happiness diminishes. But how to means measure that happiness? Can we means measure that additional utility or additional happiness? So according to the new classical economists, they said that yes, we can measure the utility, and when we can measure the utility in terms of numbers, it is called as cardinal utility measurement. Okay, and according to the new classical economist, the utility can be measured with the measure called utils. I mean, like we are using kilo, liter to means, to measure the different commodities. According to neoclassical economist, utils is the measure for utility measurement. And one util, according to them, is equivalent to one rupee. Say in terms of Indian rupee, suppose one util is equivalent to one Indian rupee. That means if I will say that 100 utils of happiness you receive from the consumption of a particular commodity, which is equivalent to 100 rupee. If you are getting 100 rupee, how much happy you will be, that is equivalent to getting 100 utils of happiness from the consumption of any commodity, which is the assumption according to the neoclassical economist in order to measure the utility in terms of the cardinal measure. Okay, and they also assume that utility of money remains constant. So if you are receiving more and more units of money, so assuming the marginal utility of means money is constant. 100 rupee if you are receiving, how much utility you are receiving? Again, if you will receive another 100 rupee, the marginal utility becomes constant. Okay, but in terms of the commodities, when you will have more and more units of the commodity, marginal utility diminishes. But here they assume that marginal utility of means money is constant. Then under the cardinal utility measurement, there are two laws, very important laws. One is the law of diminishing marginal utility, another is the law of equi-marginal utility. Law of diminishing marginal utility, according to Marshall, that the additional benefit or happiness or additional utility which a person derives from a given increase of his stock of a thing diminishes with every increase the stock that he already has. So if you will have more and more units of a particular commodity, then the additional benefit that you are going to get from the extra unit, it will go on declining. So which is called a law of diminishing marginal utility. That means marginal utility diminishes when the consumer possesses more and more units of a commodity. Understood? Marginal utility or additional benefit. Okay. Then we can see this from this example. Suppose you want to have the cup of tea. So how many cup of tea suppose you will interested to have it in a day? Suppose from the first cup of tea when you will have, you got 12 utils of utility or happiness. Your happiness, suppose it is uh, measured in terms of utils of happiness or utils of total utility. Suppose from first cup of tea you got 12 utils of utility. When you are having means no cup of tea, so your total utility was zero. Now you had means one cup of tea, you got 12 utils of total utility. Then your the marginal utility, that is change in the total utility due to change in the units of the commodity. So earlier total utility was zero when you are not consuming anything. Now by consuming one cup of tea, you got total utility equal to 12. Change in the units of output, that is 0 to 1, that is 1. So marginal utility equal to 12 by 1 equal to 12. Suppose you want to consume another cup of tea. So by consuming uh, 2 cup of tea, the sum of your total utility suppose it is 22. So uh, together by consuming 1 cup of tea, then another cup of tea, suppose your total utility is 22. Then how much will be the additional utility you are receiving from the second cup of tea, or the how much will be the marginal utility? So marginal utility, it will be change in total utility divided by change in the units of output. That is change is 10 utils of utility will increase when you are increasing the consumption of 1 cup of additional tea. Okay. Then if further you are consuming 3 cup of tea, then your total utility, suppose it will be 30. Then how much will be the additional utility from the third cup of tea or the marginal utility? That will be change in the total utility by change in the units of output. So change will be 8 utils. So by consuming third unit of cup of tea, you are receiving 8 utils of happiness. So again, if you will go on consuming 4 cup of tea, 5 cup of tea, 6 cup of tea, your marginal utility, it will decline, but your total utility, it will be increasing. But after sixth cup of tea, if you are taking seventh cup of tea, your total utility, it is not increasing, rather it is declining because of over consumption. Suppose after sixth cup of tea, you don't like to have any tea, or suppose with situation or something, you had to take additional cup of tea. So instead of becoming you happy, your total happiness will start declining due to over the consumption. In this case, the marginal utility becomes negative. So the marginal utility, it is here called as the slope of the total utility function, or slope of the total utility curve. If we represent this in terms of the graph, the total utility initially increases at a diminishing rate. That means the slope, it will be declining. Okay, after this, the total utility becomes maximum, suppose at Q 4 units of output. When we know that when a function it will be optimum or maximum, then the slope of that function it will be zero. So this utility function is maximum at point t. So at point t, we will calculate the slope, then it will be equal to zero. That means marginal utility it will be zero. So where marginal utility it will be zero, that means additional benefit receiving from one extra unit of the consumption is becoming zero. That means you are not getting any additional uh, benefit. That will happen where your total utility becomes maximum. And when your total utility becomes maximum, if we still consume more and more units of the commodity, then your total utility will start declining because of over consumption. Okay, you don't like to have it, mean more often, but due to some situation waste, so you have to consume. So in this case your total utility will start declining, then your marginal utility or the slope of the total utility curve becomes negative. Then where the total utility becomes maximum, this is called the satiation point or satiation quantity. That means the consumer is fully satisfied with these units of the commodity is consumed. Once the consumer it will be fully satisfied or optimum satisfaction he got, after that if he will continue to consume, then his total utility will start declining or marginal utility becomes negative. Any doubt, anything you want to ask from up to here? Law of diminishing marginal utility. Are you here? Or
No, sir.
no doubt.
So
Okay.
how is this utility calculated?
Sorry?
How is this utility calculated? Like for 6 cup of teas, the utility is -1. So how is it calculated?
So it is according to it. We are assuming that it is we can to calculate the utility. Suppose how much happiness you are getting. Suppose you did this economics class. Suppose you got some utility or some happiness. How much happiness you got? How shall I calculate this? If I will be interested to means know whether you are happy or not. If you are happy, whether you are mean more happy or means less happy. How shall I know?
By how much I'm willing to pay for the commodity?
Yes, very good. So you can say that, sir, today class I did. So if you will ask me that how much happy, so if it will be a private tuition, per class, if you will ask me how much I can be, how much I can pay as for my choice of happiness I am receiving. Suppose for this class, I am interested to pay only 200 rupees. That means, according to the cardinal utility measurement, your happiness is 200 rupees or 200 utils. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Suppose somebody will say, no, 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 I am not happy. I can pay only 50 rupees for this class. That means his happiness is only 50 utils. Okay. Then accordingly, we have to
Yes, sir.
calculate according to cardinal utility measurement. We are assuming utility is measurable, and we can measure the utility in terms of utils, which is a measure, and each util is equivalent to 1 rupee. Okay, then, but there are limitations and exceptions of the law of diminishing marginal utility. What are the limitations? One is dissimilar units. Suppose you, as I said that if we will consume different units of the commodity, then your additional benefit it will decline. Suppose if the units are not similar, suppose you got one iPhone from your father, then it is different, and your uncle is presenting you a more better iPhone with good features, more expensive. Then your additional happiness it may increase because the units are not equal, not uh, similar. Your what your father has gifted you, your uncle is gifting you a different iPhone. So in this case, the law of diminishing marginal utility, this will not work. Very small units, if the units of the consumption will be very small, then also law of diminishing marginal utility, it will means not work. Example, suppose you are very thirsty, you have means gone for the marketing, you are coming home, after that you ask your means mother, I want some means water, can you give me means one glass of water. After one glass of water you will get very much satisfaction. For the means next glass of water if will have, your means additional satisfaction it may decline. But if you are not getting the water in means glass, but somebody will say no, I will give you in drops of water, one drop, then two drop. If you are very thirsty, and if you are getting the means water in very small unit like drops, your thirstiness it will increase, or you might be interested to have means more and more water, so your additional happiness may increase. Okay, in this case also, law of diminishing marginal utility, it will means not work. Too long an interval. If the interval it will be too long. Suppose today you are having one means rasgola, same rasgola you are having after 7 days, means additional rasgola. But after means 1 week, your happiness may increase by having additional unit. But immediately after means one rasgola, if you will have another, your additional happiness may uh, decline. But if you are having this after means 1 week or means 1 month, then this law of diminishing marginal utility, this will not work. In case of rare collections, means this law will means not work. Means more and more rare the collections you are having, your additional happiness may increase. Then this law will not work in case of abnormal portions. Change in another person's stock. Suppose you purchased one iPhone, and your means neighbor purchased one iPhone, or he purchased two iPhone. Then your consumption may be influenced by your means neighbor. Then you, in this case also it may not work, which is called the demonstration effect in economics. When your consumption it will be influenced by others consumption. In this case also this law may not work. Then this law is also may not work when there is change in income of the person, habit of the person, taste of the person. If these things may change, this law will also not work. Okay, these are the limitations and exceptions of the law of diminishing marginal utility. Then we will have the second law, that is called the law of equimarginal utility, or called as principles of equimarginal utility. So in the law of diminishing marginal utility, we came to know that when the consumer will have
Sir, you are not audible.
but in equimarginal, he want to purchase two commodities, commodity X and commodity Y. So how many units of commodity X and commodity Y he will purchase with his given income, so that his level of satisfaction will be maximum. Okay, so that his level of satisfaction will be maximum. That will be explained by the law of equimarginal utility, or how the consumer will achieve equilibrium given the money income and given the price of two commodities. So here the law of equimarginal utility states that the consumer will distribute his money income between two goods in that the consumer will distribute his money income between the goods in such a way that the utility derived from the last.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
When margin spend again some more amount. But as you will go on spending more and more amount on a particular commodity, you will be interested to spend lesser and lesser amount upon that the commodity, which is called as marginal utility of money expenditure. When you will spend more money upon a particular commodity, then the marginal utility of your money expenditure will go on declining, because of which your interest to spend on that particular commodity will go on declining. So marginal utility of money expenditure, that is written as MUM equal to MUX by PX, marginal utility from the commodity X divided by the price of the commodity X. This is called marginal utility of money expenditure. How to understand this? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
This is important. How to understand the marginal utility of money expenditure upon a particular commodity. Suppose you want to have chicken and fish curry. Chicken curry and fish curry.
Sir, you are not audible anymore.
From okay, I'm not audible.
Sir, now you are.
Okay,
Sometimes
now
your
I am
voice is
audible.
going.
Okay, so how to know the marginal utility of money expenditure on a particular commodity? So if you want to have two commodity, if you want to purchase two commodity of less marginal utility, then upon which commodity you will be interested to spend more, upon fish or chicken?
Sir, can you repeat?
Can you please
Sir, we
repeat?
could not hear.
Suppose you are
Your voice is
getting
not coming properly.
okay, just wait, just wait. Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, suppose how to know the marginal utility of money expenditure. If you will spend upon a particular commodity, that means interest to spend means more, it will decline. Suppose here there are two. Am I audible?
No, sir.
No. I think there is some network issue. Am I audible means now? Now I am audible.
सर बीच
Yes.
में चला जा रहे हो.
अच्छा अच्छा बीच बीच में मीन्स नेटवर्क प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Important parts में चला जा रहा है.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, whenever I am means not audible, please inform me because it is not possible to take the class from the office because everybody will be taking from the
So you are not audible. Yes, sir.
ways. Therefore, I am taking from. Hello, is it okay? Otherwise, we'll stop the class and we'll take from the next.
Okay, sir.
Is it okay now? So, am I audible?
सर कट जा रहा है.
No, sir.